Frederick Douglass Kirkpatrick was a man whose life and actions carved an indelible mark in the history of the civil rights movement. Born in Jonesboro, Louisiana, on November 20th, 1935, Kirkpatrick grew up in the deeply segregated Deep South, where the Ku Klux Klan's reign of terror often went unchecked, and Jim Crow laws dictated every facet of life for Black Americans. From an early age, he understood that the fight for justice required more than just words. It demanded courage, unity, and, when necessary, self-defense. By the early 1960s, Kirkpatrick had established himself as a high school teacher, a respected role in his community. Yet his ambitions extended beyond the classroom. As a member of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, SCLC, and later an ordained minister in the Pentecostal Church of God in Christ, he dedicated his life to the principles of justice and equity. His faith and his experiences in the segregated South laid the foundation for what would become his most significant contribution to the civil rights movement. In November 1964, alongside Ernest Chilly Willie Thomas, Kirkpatrick co-founded the Deacons for Defense and Justice in Jonesboro. This groundbreaking organization was formed in response to the increasing violence perpetrated by the Ku Klux Klan, who targeted Black communities, activists, and churches with impunity. The Deacons' mission was clear: to protect civil rights workers, their families, and the Black community from the relentless threats and acts of violence by white supremacists. Most of the men who joined the Deacons were military veterans, with combat experience from World War II and the Korean War. Their training and discipline became crucial assets in their fight for survival and dignity. The catalyst for the formation of the Deacons came during the Freedom Summer of 1964, a time of extensive voter registration efforts and civil rights activism in the South. In Jonesboro, the Congress of Racial Equality, CORE, had established a Freedom House, a sanctuary for activists working to dismantle segregation. However, the Klan responded with unrelenting violence, burning 5 Black churches, a Masonic hall, and a Baptist center. The Freedom House itself became a frequent target of attacks. In the face of such terror, Kirkpatrick and Thomas recognized the urgent need for an organized defense force. Before the Deacons officially formed, 2 groups were already operating in Jonesboro. One group, led by Percy Lee Bradford and Ernest Thomas, acted as sentries outside the Freedom House, while Kirkpatrick organized a second group to monitor police activity and ensure the safety of Black residents. Kirkpatrick's group focused on providing a protective presence during police arrests and harassment, a common occurrence in the racially charged climate of the time. It was Kirkpatrick's ability to inspire and organize that ultimately brought these efforts together, creating a unified front against the Klan's intimidation tactics. The Deacons' approach to armed self-defense was both pragmatic and revolutionary. They established strict membership criteria, accepting only male U.S. citizens over the age of 21, preferably married men with military experience who were also registered voters. Hot-headed individuals, or those prone to recklessness, were explicitly excluded. The Deacons maintained a firm stance on acting solely in defense, ensuring their actions aligned with their mission of protecting their community without inciting unnecessary violence. During the day, the Deacons concealed their weapons to avoid provoking authorities. At night, however, they carried their firearms openly, as permitted by law, to deter Klan activity. This tactic proved effective on numerous occasions. In early 1965, when Black students picketed the local high school in Jonesboro for integration, the police prepared to use fire hoses to disperse them. However, when a car carrying 4 armed Deacons arrived on the scene, the police stood down and the fire truck withdrew. This marked a pivotal moment in the 20th century, the first time an armed black organization successfully defended a lawful protest against law enforcement aggression. The Deacons' influence quickly spread beyond Jonesboro. In February 1965, Kirkpatrick, Thomas, and a core member traveled to Bogalusa, Louisiana, to establish the first affiliated chapter. Bogalusa, a company mill town, was deeply entrenched in racial violence, with the Klan infiltrating local law enforcement and government institutions. The new chapter, led by local activists Bob Hicks, Charles Sims, and A.Z. Young, became a vital force in protecting black residents and activists from Klan harassment. Sims, a World War II veteran, described the Deacons as a defense guard unit formed to protect their community from white night riders. The Deacons' presence in Bogalusa had an immediate impact. Their armed self-defense tactics forced the federal government to intervene, compelling local police to uphold the law and protect civil rights workers. This intervention marked a turning point in the civil rights movement, demonstrating that armed resistance could successfully complement non-violent activism. Kirkpatrick and the Deacons also worked closely with other civil rights leaders and organizations. In 1965, they provided protection for core leader James Farmer during his desegregation efforts in Bogalusa. Their security detail ensured Farmer's safety from the moment he arrived at the New Orleans airport, allowing him to march and speak without fear of attack. The Deacons also played a crucial role in the June 1966 March Against Fear, organized by activist James Meredith. After Meredith was shot and wounded early in the march, the Deacons stepped in to provide security, ensuring the march could continue. The Deacons' militant stance attracted national attention. Unlike other self-defense groups, they did not hide their names from the media, which further highlighted their resolve and bravery. Their actions inspired black communities across the South, challenging the stereotype of black submission and proving that self-defense could coexist with the broader goals of the civil rights movement. Despite their successes, the Deacons faced significant challenges. Their activities drew the attention of the FBI, which viewed them as a threat to the American way. Under the COINTELPRO program, the FBI infiltrated the organization, intimidated its members, and monitored their every move. However, these efforts failed to undermine the Deacons' resolve. They continued to protect their communities and support the civil rights movement until their influence waned in the late 1960s, overshadowed by the rise of the Black Power movement and groups like the Black Panther Party. Frederick Douglass Kirkpatrick's legacy is a testament to the power of courage, unity, and self-defense in the face of oppression. Through the Deacons for Defense and Justice, he and his fellow activists created a model for local empowerment and resilience. Their actions forced the nation to confront the brutal realities of racism and demonstrated that the fight for civil rights required more than just hope. It required action. Though their time in the spotlight was brief, the Deacons left an enduring impact, laying the foundation for future movements and proving that justice is worth defending at all costs.